Welcome, crew, to What Are Your Three, a Channel 3 podcast, where we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, go through some honorable mentions and some other odds and ends to have a good video game discussion. I'm Dan Tucker, and with me as always is L. Ray.
What's going on, everybody? Today's guest, listen, we told you when we had Bucket on that we had to have the other half of this show. So today we have Mr. Hoosier himself. How are you doing today, sir?
Elray, I'm doing good. It's very exciting to finally make it on here. I know we've gone through a couple of reschedules, but we're here now, which is exciting. I can't wait to talk to you guys.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you here too. I mean, it's been, like you said, we rescheduled a couple times. We tried the best to make you, we don't want to make you feel like we didn't want you. We need you here. We had Bucket. We need Hoosier on, and we need to get into games.
Yeah, no, if you guys you guys had Bucket. That's the bigger, more sexier voice of our podcast. So you definitely started with the right one. But yeah, no, I was excited to come on here and talk about some games that I've played in my past and ones that I continue to play now.
There's these pairings that are in Channel 3 that were like, all right, how do we pick which one of them's going to be first? And without starting World War III. And of course, everybody's a good sport about it. And again, we're not professionals at this. We just do this because it seemed like a good idea at the time. We have a little fun with it and kind of hear from people in the community. But it was the same thing with yours. Like, well, we got to pick one of them, and then Bucket B came before H. I don't know. I don't know how we did it that way, but hey, you've been a good sport about it.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, B comes before H. I mean, that's how the name kind of started out anyways. It flows better. So it made sense that that's who you went with first.
Yeah, it's your fault. That's why. Not our fault. Your fault.
Exactly.
All right, without further ado, let's move into Game 1. NASCAR Thunder 2003. Not freshly added, because again, we delayed this recording a little bit. So I added it specifically at the request of this discussion here. So freshly added to the Channel 3 library. Why this one? Let's talk about that. How we get into this one? Why 2003 specifically? As it seems like that early aughts. I mean, EA was on fire back then. That's where like some of the best Madden activity, some good NHL. NASCAR is really running the table there. So let's talk. How did NASCAR Thunder 2003 end up here?
Well, it's funny that you say NASCAR Thunder 2003 because that's a console game. And what I was referring to... Yeah.
Oh, no!
I was referring to is it's actually a game. It's NASCAR 2003. And in one of my honorable mentions is iRacing. And that's what iRacing was actually based off of, was actually that entire game. So for me, NASCAR 2003, that was the first time I really got into, I want to say league play. Because I would actually, when I was a sophomore in high school, because my dad played the game as well, and we were just a big NASCAR family, but I would get up on Sunday mornings at 6 a.m., and I had a league race that I would do every week and would actually like work throughout the week on setups and getting the car down, how you're going to drive it. So that was my real first experience into the online world and being like real competitive with a video game.
So is this the Sierra PC version then?
Yep. Yeah, that one, the Sierra PC version.
I can't cut any of this race. It's going to be here. I'm going to be dead the whole time.
Yeah, it was too good of a game. Like it was the first time you saw people modding things, and that my first experience of people modding a game, like turning up the grip strength, and you're running Daytona and Talladega full pedal down to the ground, and you don't have to lift, and the car is going way too fast and just wrecking everywhere. But for me also, it was a bonding experience between my dad and I, because that was our first time like going back and forth on a video game.
So we're here to talk our first game about NASCAR Racing 2003 season, or NR 2003 for I'm dead. It's over anyway. Well, hey, this will be even newly added to the library for Channel 3. Sierra, it's funny because Sierra I didn't realize they did racing games too. I mean, they crushed the PC circuit for the 80s, the 90s, the aughts.
Yeah, that was really the first one, I would say, PC wise, where they got the realism down, and it was just too perfect a game. It lasted forever, and actually there was no other real like NASCAR game that competed with it all the way until iRacing finally came out, and because Sierra they stopped going with it. But yeah, it was a really fun game, and it got you hooked.
Ray, you're in. I'm dead. I'm over. I'm done.
All right, let's go to the second game on the list then. And so, second game on the list is Medal of Honor, which I thought was a really weird way of spelling Call of Duty. So tell me about Medal. I just said Medal of Honor. Was there a specific one? Was it like 1999 Medal of Honor? Which medal are we talking about?
I'm trying to remember which one. So this game for me really stuck in my head. It was my first like real interaction with a first person shooter. I think it was one of the World War II ones where you actually did like the Normandy invasion and coming up onto the beach. But
I think that was the first one. I think it was the first one.
I think that's 1999.
Yeah. So for me too, like, so just playing through that, actually like doing a shooter and getting the sort of realism that was for 1999. But that was also, again, like this game kind of ties back to my dad and I, is that was the first time of a multiplayer. Like we would sit there just 1v1 and, you know, screen looking and everything, and would spend way too much time trying to beat each other. But yeah, that was like the first true first person shooter that I played, and I can still remember playing that today. It was fun memories all around.
I mean, and you say, you know, graphics for the time, but you're right. It was 1999. The PlayStation came out. It was out for a few years. You had the PlayStation and you had Nintendo 64. These graphics were just off the charts.
The graphics were off the charts, and it was also the missions, right? So from a historical standpoint, it nailed it completely, as into what went on there, how it really was. And I can remember one time my grandfather like saw me playing it when I was back in Indiana for a summer, and he went to my mom and was like, he shouldn't be playing that game. Like, that's too graphic. And she was like, it's historical. Like, it actually it's not like it's anything. My parents were really big against like GTA and whatnot. So she was like, at least it has some history to it, even though he's shooting people in the face. So it worked out in my benefit.
So I noticed this game, as we get through the list here, it stands out because the list is very, very racing centric. How did this game kind of get on? Is it because it was the first FPS? Is it because of the history to it? You're part of the military, or you were in the military. I don't know if you're still active.
I currently am.
You currently are in the military.
Yes. Yep.
So how does this one kind of fit into everything?
I think more for me when you guys posed the question of like 3 games that like just name 3 games, I was really trying to, I guess, look at it as, well, what's 3 games that like stuck with me and is why I play certain games now? And that was one of the like first person shooter, huge. That was just over the top. I can still remember playing that game. I mean, I dabbled in 007 GoldenEye a little bit with my cousin. He had an N64, but I didn't have an N64. I had a PlayStation. So I went straight into this. So yeah, for me, it's always been like racing and first person shooters. And that's why those 2 are at the top of my list, because those are the 2 that really got me into both of those genres.
So what's the first person shooter you're playing now?
So I will dabble in Call of Duty from time to time. Call of Duty, Apex, depending on if my buddies are playing it. My 5-year-old has pulled me into Fortnite, which was a game I swore off years ago after my 13-year-old nephew at the time. I'll never forget this. It was him, our 11-year-old nephew, and then my wife and I against them 2. And I'm like, I'm going to stomp these kids. Like, come on. And like, I'm on PC. I'm like, there's no way. And we're in just like an open lobby, just the 4 of us. And I can remember I couldn't even get onto the ground. They were killing me. And I just left the match and I went up to my wife. It's like, she goes, what's wrong? I'm like, I about yelled, you little SOB in the mic. And I remembered they're 13 and 11, like, calm down. And so I was like, all right, I'm done with Fortnite for now. But with no build being on there, it kind of suits my old man FPS playing a little more.
Yeah, I think it suits all the old people's FPS more than no build. There's
Ray, hold me up
about building.
At me.
Dan, you want to talk about No Build? Because No Build brought me back. Obviously, all the weird stuff they played. They had the Marvel superpowers, and I was like, "Oh, I can do this because I can just blow things up now. I don't have to build things anymore." And then they said No Build. Like, this is great. I can aim.
Right. I felt the exact same. I was like, "Well, I can aim." Like, that's literally all I was doing before everybody got nuts cranking 90s. So I was like, oh, this plays to my strengths. And like, sure enough, I think like the first 10 wins him and I had, like, he's going up telling my wife, Mom, we won. And she's like, when'd you get good? I was like, we're playing half the lobby's bots right now. So we'll work through a couple weeks and we'll see how we do, which we don't fare too bad. But yeah, no build, definitely much better.
Yeah, I took the high road with my wife. My kids recently basically forced my wife, who does not play video games at all, to play Fortnite with them. She could barely hold the controller. She did a great job. She just cut some trees down. She knocked into some houses. I think she went 4 victory royales with them in a row. And at no point did I bring up that they're bot lobbies. No one. Again, let me make it clear. If the memes have not made it clear, we never discuss that they're bot lobbies when you start off with people. Let them enjoy.
Right. You don't let them know until they get much higher up, and they're like, "What happened?" You're like, "Well, so what happened was."
Let's explain this here. We're really happy for you. I'm glad you're still playing.
Yes.
And now we have to practice.
Yes. Yeah. Now you got to get good. Like the fun's over.
All right, let's go on. I feel like this is how I think of it. I don't know if anyone listening thinks of it this way. It always is, well, so when's Rocket League going to show up on this person's list? Because the Rocket League people, Rocket League is never number one. It's just all over. But you actually made it in your top 3. So Rocket League, I'm going to start with the real basic question. For anyone that's not aware, what is your rank in Rocket League? What's your favorite version? Are you playing 2s or 3s? What do you prefer?
So my current rank in 2s, it's I think Champ 3 Div 2. In 3s, it's like Champ 2 Div 4. And I'll dabble in 1s every so often. But yeah, I actually took like a month off from the game. So I've been just slowly getting back into it. But I mean, playing it since 2016, I truly have never put it down. Like, I feel like it had to go on the list then.
So, personal question. Why is it that it seems 2's ranks are always higher than 3's rank? Is it easier to play with one person as opposed to playing with 2 people? Is it that simple?
If you're solo queuing or even queuing with a teammate, it's 100% a lot easier. And you got to remember in 2s, that's 2 less people that are on the pitch. So you're not having to fight for boost as much. You can get to the ball usually a lot quicker. And it's a little bit more of a simpler gameplay. More mechanics kind of come to it at that point. Unlike 3s, where you really need to start paying attention to your rotations and realizing not only where you are and where the ball is, but where your teammate is, and then how's the other team responding to the ball. So yeah, usually 2s, I have a little bit of better rank, but then everybody's 1's rank is usually the bottom of the list. So
you say you've been playing since 2016. How did you get into Rocket League? What's your story into this one?
So my story into Rocket League was literally my buddies, all of us that played. I think we were big into GTA at the time, and one of our buddies, his friend, so outside of the group, was playing this game. He played it and he goes, "You guys got to get it. It's $20." I was like, "It's a $20 game? Like, what is this game?" And got it and was immediately hooked, to the point like I was traveling for work and I was taking my Xbox with me so that I could continue playing it when I had downtime in the hotel room. So yeah, for me, it was that way. So that's what got me playing actually the game. Where I started like taking it more seriously and trying to improve was so after our son was born in 2017, was just sitting there, and my wife would, she was breastfeeding, so she would prepare some milk for the middle of the night. And, as a dad with kid number 1, you're on the ball. You're helping, doing all these other things. Kid 2, a little less. Kid 3, I'm sleeping. But with kid 1, like, yeah, he would wake up middle of the night, got it. Like, I'll go warm the bottle, perfect. And I would feed him while he was going back to sleep. I would just turn on the Xbox and would just start playing Rocket League. And I never wanted to get into actual matches. So I did what, every coach or pro tells people to do when they ask, how do I get good? I would just go into free play. And I started just flying around, trying to control the ball, and just started building from there. And that's really where I started improving in the game, is waiting for my son to fall asleep at night.
And so here's a question I'm trying to start to ask all the Rocket League guys. When you're playing this game, are you able to play it in a way that's just kind of you just relaxing and having a good time? Or when you're playing, is it like you're ready to start grinding and it becomes almost, it's work?
I would say it comes and goes. There's instances where, like right now, when I'm playing it, I'm playing it and enjoying it, even though I am playing rank, and I do want to like improve the rank. If I as long as I don't have like a huge drop, I'm fine. I'm not upset with it. Now, in a couple of weeks, when I take a week off from work, I'm probably going to like try to go into grind mode for that week and really want to improve. But yeah, I would say for Rocket League, it kind of just comes and goes. Like when you can just play it and be chill about it. Usually that's when everybody ends up in private matches and you're just joking and having a good time. But yeah, it's easy to turn on and off. I would say for some people it's not. I have played with people that they can't turn it off. They get into it and like, I have to win. Like I do want to win, but I know there's some things that are going to happen in the game that are outside of my control. So I'm not going to sweat over it.
And so the podcast, tell me about that, because this podcast is very Rocket League centered. How did you meet up with Bucket? How did you start the podcast? What was the inspiration for it all?
So the podcast, the Bucket and Hoosier show, spawned out of So Buck and I, we had casted once or twice together on the Dad Gaming. We had done the B stream and just literally had not talked before that. And we get on, we're like, hey, what's going on? Chit chat back and forth. And if you're casting an event, you usually end up talking before and after. Well, him and I always ended up finding ourselves after, like just starting going down a rabbit hole of topics. And it would literally just be him and I. And we did this for like 3 to 6 months, something in that span, where there were even times that we would just get in Discord and be like, hey, what are you doing? And we'd start chatting. So for us, it was hey, do you want to do a podcast? Like we almost said it at the same time. Like, yeah, why don't we just hit live and just talk? Like we're already doing it. Why not? So our goal last year was to at least stay consistent with going live on Monday nights, which we got to that point. There were many a times where either he was like not really feeling it, but because I, hit him up, was like, hey, you still on for tonight? He'd be like, yep, I'm going to be there. And vice versa to me, where I wasn't really feeling it. But by God, if he messaged saying, hey, are we on for tonight? Yep, I'll be there. So yeah, we got through our first year doing it, and it's become just a thing now. Like we almost expect, like we're going to meet up on Monday nights and talk about something, whether it's competitive Rocket League or drama that's going on, or just pick like Jesu's brain, since he has a ton of knowledge in the Rocket League scene.
And so before the Dad Gaming, were doing any casting, or was the Dad Gaming kind of like the intro to, hey, we need you on video to talk about these matches?
So yeah, before the Dad Gaming, so before 2020, I would hit live on my Twitch every so often. I just play to myself, didn't care, was sitting there chatting with buddies. But then in 2020, with the great year that was for everybody, I came across the Dad Gaming and was getting pretty high up in my Rocket League rank. And so I was feeling comfortable of, well, this looks like a tournament that I could play in. So I got in playing with that. And Jesu would always say, if you have interest in casting, let me know. So I was literally just sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm good at running my mouth. Why not? I could go up there and do that. And hit him up, and he let me come up there, and then it became well, all right, you did go on A stream. Do you want to run the B stream whenever Ryan's not available? Yeah, sure. So yeah, for me, Dad Gaming was the first instance that I had to be able to do that. And it's always been fun. And yeah, I don't regret ever asking Jesu for the chance.
Through the 3, and shockingly, as Ray mentioned, Rocket League not in the honorable mentions. So thank you for a Rocket League person having Rocket League in the top 3. But we're going to move back into we're going to move back into the racing realm here. Not with an EA Sports game, not with the wrong one, but with iRacing, which has been running around I think about 15 years now. Online racing game, still going strong here, 4.1 rated on Channel 3. And while we were getting ready and kind of warming up, you mentioned playing a little bit before we got started here. So tell us how iRacing starts to lead the pack off here as we go into the honorable mentions.
So iRacing for me, about 3. When was Prime Day? Prime Day's in like January or October, or July or October, isn't it? I think so. But around that time, took advantage. So since my days of playing NASCAR 2003, once I got out of high school, I honestly hadn't touched a sim racing game in this style since then. And I've always wanted to just always had the itch to get back into it. So Prime Day deal came across for a steering wheel, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And so I got it, and not in the honorable mentions, but I actually got to start playing F122 with my buddy. So I was actually playing in that, and then he's had to move, hadn't been available to really play. And so I always knew about iRacing, and I was like, I think I would just get addicted to it. Like, let's go look at it. And sure enough, around, Christmas, they had their Christmas deal where their membership for a year was like 50% off. I was like, well, I'm dumb if I don't do it. So went ahead, took advantage of that, and just started dabbling into it. And I can honestly say I am hooked on it. I catch myself down here very frequently and just playing this game. So I think I thought about this for coming on the podcast. Like, I think you can almost really kind of get to know a person by asking these questions of, hey, what video games do you like to play? Are you an adventure person who is real creative? Or I would say, like me, what comes with the iRacing and racing in general is it's a very simple task, right? But you have to perfect it and you have to do it the same every time. So I'm always hooked on getting faster times or having a very fast time and being able to keep that consistent.
What I'm always really impressed with the, Ray and I do a lot of the Mario Kart, but what I'm really impressed with the real racing games is just the physics of what they put into this. And I know, like, iRacing, it's not like they don't just keep trotting the same thing out there. They're like acquiring companies to try to add more. Is it realism the right way I'm trying to say it here? They're trying to factor in more of the physics, trying to factor in more of the racing to it. So it's not like, okay, Mario Kart, you drive, where the shortcuts are. Like, you're trying to factor, angles of turns and drifting and everything else that's taking place inside of an actual race that makes us a little bit more exciting than some of the other just like video game racers.
It does, because like what iRacing, a lot of these sim racing companies are doing, they're putting lasers on the racetrack and getting a good readout of what the track is. So like when you go race at a Daytona or Talladega, Daytona 500 was just last week, and even the commentators were talking about how, everybody thinks that's a smooth racetrack, when in all actuality, it is not. There are bumps and divots everywhere, and iRacing and anybody that's in the sim world, they're trying really hard to capture that realism to just give you a feel of what you don't get to go out and do, but what a lot of people would love to try and do.
All right, so the second game on the honorable mention list is Hogwarts Legacy, which is taking over the world. And by taking over the world, I really mean is taking over every wife. Every husband that I talk to has a wife who loves Hogwarts Legacy. So let's start with this. Are you playing? Is your wife playing? I have to ask that.
My wife is not playing yet. So upstairs, like what is her area is a Switch. So maybe when it comes out in April, I think it comes out in April for the Switch, I could see her wanting to dabble in that. But right now for her, it's the Lego games. But yes, for me, Hogwarts is a great time killer, I guess, decompression game, if I could describe it. Really a game that I don't usually dabble in, but growing up, being a Harry Potter fan and whatnot, you're just like, well, I might as well try it. And yeah, now it's become my laptop game when I travel for work. I'll just take that with me, and downtime in hotel room, like, oh, yep, fire up Hogwarts, and I'll go run around and either look for things or actually try and do some missions.
So which house? So did you get sorted into a house, or did you end up having to choose a different one? Which house did you go with?
Well, I had done that app a long time ago, the Warner Brothers thing, and I ended up in Gryffindor. I think that's a good choice for me, but I also feel like usually those tests, I mean, if you're military, you know how you can pick out the answer, right? There's one that's like, oh, that's more of a Gryffindor answer. I'm going to take that one. So as much as I would like to think that, yeah, it sorted me there, I don't know if I ever answered honestly with those questions anyways. So, but yeah, no, that's been a very different game, a game that's not on there. But if we want to retro back into a really old game that kind of falls along the same lines of adventure and seeking out, like my first one that I would have played like this would be the Rugrats game back on PlayStation.
Right,
like
that's a first.
First of all, stop it, Dan. I thought you were going to say I was too young again.
No.
No, so Rugrats Go to Paris? Is that the one we're talking about?
No, it's not Rugrats Go to Paris. Which game was it?
Now you got me hitting.
It's Rugrats Search for Reptar.
Search for Reptar, PlayStation 1. Of all the shows, because there's a lot of TV shows that put out some really junky games, the Rugrats has had some quality ones.
It was a really good one.
They pulled it off. I remember that game, dude. That's so fun. What a callback. We went from Hogwarts to Rugrats. Search for Reptar.
I didn't see that. I did not see this swerve coming.
Right? I didn't see this connection coming right here. That is something else. But I guess you connected right back to the PlayStation, which you said was your system, PlayStation.
Yes, I grew up. What was it? First, we had a Nintendo NES in the house, and then I got a Sega when I was 6. And then after that, went to PlayStation. And then in high school, I had all my buddies were on Xbox, so I ended up with Xbox 360 was the first Xbox that I had, playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Which that's where I got into. I don't know if you guys ever know the wager match websites that were out there at the time in the late 2000s.
Oh yeah, the late 2000s were a wild time for many internet reasons, and that's that and 360 lobbies together. That was an interesting time that's never going to happen again.
It won't, and as fun as it was, it probably doesn't need to come back.
No, it doesn't.
I remember going to ask my mom. I was like, what do people say on there? I'm like, oh, I learned a lot about you, Mom. She goes, what? I'm like, never mind.
Oh man. All right, I have to connect this again. Your man Bucket, he put a post up on Channel 3 about Hogwarts, talking about how you go about. He compared it to how you eat your food. So how do you go about? Are you I'm going to sit here and do mostly main storyline missions, or are you roaming about doing every side quest possible before you head on with the story?
I responded to him on Twitter because I'm so bad at getting on Channel 3 because I'm not at a desktop most of the time.
I got to delete this. Oh, God.
I'm kidding. I'm the worst one for it, but I'm the biggest advocate for it as well. But I answered him and said he's missing, like, it's not one or the other. And I'm the hybrid, right? I'll get to where I do the side quests that get me to the main mission, like set you up for the main mission, then I'll do it and I'll go back and do some side quests. So I'm like a hybrid. I'm right in between. I'm mixing a little bit of mashed potatoes and gravy with some pork or steak, whatever you're having as your entree, and eating it all in one shot.
Yeah, I told him I'd like to do it in order. I want to be just at the right place when I do my story missions. I don't want it. I don't want to steamroll it. I don't like steamrolling through the main stories. But I also don't hate myself and want to sit for an hour on one boss. I want to be at the recommended level that the game told me to be at. That's kind of what I aim for.
All right, I got to ask a question because you brought up sitting at an hour with a boss here. I'm probably going to ask both of you this question because I have not gotten to crack it. I've got it downloaded. I just haven't played it yet. I'm holding myself to one narrative game at a time. So Horizon Forbidden West is that for me right now. But what's the stance on unforgivable curses with YouTube? Because it's really got me concerned for the greater health of us as a society, as just how quickly everyone's like, oh no, I'm Avada Kedavraing my way through every single boss there is, just because does not seem to be much by way of repercussions for this. But my God, there are some unforgivable I didn't know Gryffindor threw unforgivable curses out like this. What's the stance from you two on this?
Let me tell you, I have a strong opinion on this, and I think the game sets up a certain way. You don't get them right away. It's like I still don't have them, and it's later in the game, but there is a pretty early area that you can use them. It's like a kind of a battle arena, and you can use them without messing the story up. And you can they give you all of them, whether you have them unlocked or not. They gave the Unforgivable Curses the best animations in the entire game.
He's trying to soften the blow here, Hoosier. I see Hoosier's face. Hoosier's judging you right now.
There's not. Listen, I'm very big. Usually when I play games, if they give you choices about good and bad choices, I'm always picking good choices. Like I feel terrible picking the wrong ones. They made it so you feel really good about using these curses. It is the best animation. It gives you this real satisfying, like, man, I just knocked them out kind of thing. And there's 0% chance that I don't unlock those curses. There's me right there.
See, what's weird is no one else can see it besides me and Hoosier on the video here. In between those comments, Ray was taking a sip out of a mug that I was trying to figure out what it said. It said Voldemort was right, and I couldn't figure out what that was about. Hoosier, unload on him, Hoosier. Looks like you want to unload here. Let's do this.
Well, actually, he said, if the video game's giving you an option between the good and bad choice, I'm usually the person that takes the bad choice. I'm curious where it'll go.
They really make it hard to not choose it.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying I don't.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying I don't make a quick manual save in Skyrim and wipe out Whiterun or anything like that. I'm not saying that hasn't happened before, but I'm not saying I'm going full, wizard Nazi or anything either.
Well, it's also, I think everybody's got to look at the game from a different angle. We all grew up in a world of Harry Potter where evil had taken it way too far and they went a little nutso with it. This predates all of that. So there's not really the stigma. It's more like, hey, that's there, but use it wisely if you're gonna use it. So
this is a man of culture right here. Keep talking. Keep talking right now. This is good. You're saying a lot of good things.
He's got a pamphlet he wants to share with us, Ray.
Let me have you join my cult. But yeah, it's a completely different world. I mean, you're dealing with a game that's talking about ancient magic, things that nothing like that was talked about in the Harry Potter world that we all grew up in. So it's it's just, I don't know, it's different. It's like saying the late 2000s Call of Duty lobby.
Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Exactly. No one knew it was going to happen. So it was like, hey, everybody's just having a good time. It's all right. Until one person took it too far and is like, okay, we're done.
That I love the callback. Oh my god,
it's so good. By the way, they've already announced there's going to be a sequel to the game, and they're making a TV show on HBO. This Hogwarts Legacy is going to take over.
Everything has a TV show on HBO for about 3 years, and we never see it. Okay, I'll believe Colin Farrell's Penguin when we see it. Moving on.
Oh man. Who hurt you, Dan? Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, wait,
Dan, move us along to the future game. Go ahead. Move us to the future game.
All right, Mr. Hoosier. This is the point in the show where we talk about a future game that our listeners looking forward to, and you're looking for... hang on. Hold on a second. My notes are messed up here. Oh, you don't have one. That's right. Hogwarts Legacy was it. So there's no future game you're looking forward to. I'm out here. I'm unloading every day. I'm going in. There's news stories dropping about new games. I'm adding everything I can to the library as fast as humanly possible. But there's nothing Hoosiers looking forward to here.
I am definitely more like video games that are coming out. Unless it's like a month out, I'm usually not really paying attention to it. I'm more like looking at the games that I'm sitting here currently playing right now. So I am really bad at keeping up with what new games are coming out. Yeah, like I'm looking through real quick, like at a list here, and yeah, nothing. I haven't seen any of these mentioned at all in the things that I pay attention to. So I am definitely the worst person for future games coming up.
Hey, that's fair. You're making this the shortest version of this segment we're ever going to have, and I just had to find some way to make it interesting. Again, enjoy your time in Hogwarts Legacy. Have at it. Live in the now, Hoosier. Live in the now. All right, though. So we are going to move on to, and I'm not letting you get out of this one, a question from the Channel 3 history, the archives. We're going to pick for you to discuss here today. Well, we're going to ask for you, what's your top feel-good game?
Oh, my top feel-good game. Ooh. Like, if I just want to sit there and not really... Oh, man, that's tough. Oddly enough, right now, it's going to be Rocket League. That is the game that if I honestly want to just shut off my brain for a little bit, I'm doing that. Whether it's like, because you don't have to go in and play matches. I'll just go in and do workshop maps or sit in free play. So something that's not ultra competitive and anything that I really have to give a lot of attention to. So yeah, for me, it would definitely be a Rocket League.
Feeling good in Rocket League. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you handle that though? How do you balance what's normally stressful, the right way to put it? Or like, I'm one who, I have jokingly said repeatedly, like that's a tough game for me not to get caught up in, not to get frustrated. I'm also not good at it. That probably doesn't help either. But how do you balance that where there's just some time where you're coming out there and it's like 6-0, you look up at the scoreboard. Maybe that doesn't happen to you. I don't know. But how do you balance that? And so like, I'm just having fun. I'm just checking my brain at the door. I'm just going to relax.
Well, usually at that point, if I'm trying to just feel good and not care, I'm usually queuing up with some friends and not like just smoking and joking, having a good time. But it's not even going in and playing actual matches, right? It's just sitting there like going into free play, working on a mechanic, something that I know I have 100% control over, and it's on me to make it better. So whether you're in free play doing resets or you're going to like Dribble Overhaul 2 in the workshop, if you're lucky enough to actually have the game on Steam and working on your dribbling, going through courses, just things that if I don't make it through it, then like there was no loss other than me trying to figure out why I didn't do it.
All right, the last question that we ask all our guests: what has been your favorite feature on Channel 3 so far?
Overall, Channel 3, it's amazing, right? I've explained to some people at work that, of this platform, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's all gaming. There's nothing else going on here. And so they looked into it and they think it's awesome. Like, it's not really their thing, but they're like, that's actually really cool. But for me, I don't know. I really like the quests. The quests keep you coming back and having you look at the game that you're playing in a different way and giving you something else to strive for that day. But as also a caster, someone who's run tournaments and whatnot, it's all the work that Joel and Garrett and anybody else who's had a hand in it of setting up the brackets, being able to build teams, not to where we don't have to go to a third-party site to manage all of it. It's all managed in C3. And I've told Bucket this, I've told Jesu, that right there has so much growth potential, especially as, like you say, I'm a Rocket League guy, right? There's a bunch of us there, but there's so much potential to grow something out of that I'm excited to see where it goes in the years to come.
Yeah, I'm with you. We've talked with a couple people about the brackets, and the bracket obviously was set up for the Rocket League, and then yesterday we used the bracket for Marvel Snap. We got a mobile card game. All of a sudden needed a Swiss bracket, and it's right there on the site. Everyone checks in. I press one button, and we fly through it.
And like you said, you don't have to go through 5 other people to get that set up, and that's the biggest thing right now. Everything else that you go out to in the gaming world, it's all compartmentalized in what they're doing. Either their production, their tournament runners, but right now C3 is building something that it's a one-stop shop. Like Joel keeps saying, it's a one-stop shop for everything. Literally, news that's going on in the gaming world. What are your friends doing? Oh, you want to play in a tournament? Yeah, we have that going on here too. Oh, and it's also hosted here. You'll find all your information here. It is the one-stop shop for gaming.
100%. We're putting it all together, and I love it. All right, with that, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks, Hoosier, for being with us today. You can find the podcast at c3.gg/podcast. They drop every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all the major platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. I am El Rey. Dan Tucker puts this all together, and of course, the executive producer, the one and only Joel Willis. Have a good day, everybody.